Jordan and Gretzky, Serena and Ruth. Remembering great ones is easy to do. But what about the no-names who spent their whole lives long snapping footballs and catching sack flies? They're guys. Remember that guy. 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 They're just gonna remember some guys now.
And to the Miami Marlins, I appreciate David Sampson and Mike Hill for coming today. Honestly, when you guys called to offer me a contract for 2015, I had never heard of Remember That Guy, the show where we mine our memories for nuggets of nostalgia about peripheral players past and present. Hey there, folks, it's me, one of your hosts, James, here with Ichirozuki's favorite podcaster.
Wow, I mean, that's quite a billing to live up to. I'll see if I can do what I can. Diaz back with you once again. We do have a very special guest with us today. He is not Ichiro, but he is just as funny in his second language as he is in his first. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say I'm the dude that didn't vote for Ichiro for Rookie of the Year, whose last name is, Assenstein?
That is a great name.
It's pretty funny. I mean, and I'm surprised there was only one person who said, hey, this guy who won multiple MVPs in Japan, maybe he's not, a rookie, because they then all felt the same way about Hideki Matsui 2 years later. We learned our lesson from last time, but either way, I find it very funny that Ichiro and CC, who got that one other vote that year, were inducted the same year. That was pretty good.
Something I like about the format change that we've done a little bit is that there is now, even more than there was before, classes of guys getting. I was thinking about that because I think this is a very good Baseball Hall of Fame class between Dave Parker, Dick Allen, Billy Wagner, Ichiro, and CC Sabathia. Those are the five, I believe. I'm not missing anyone. That's a great class. That's a great group of baseball playing individuals, and our most recent group of guys. I think it was just fun to think of them as a little group. Do you think Ichiro's ever actually listened to a podcast? Do you think Ichiro's heard a single episode of any podcast?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, I'm conflicted because it's I feel like his entire being is solely geared towards baseball. So I could see that he might listen to some baseball podcasts, but that would be the only subject matter.
Those flights to Japan are long.
Yeah,
and he's not Hideki Matsui, so he's not watching porn the entire time.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
I would be surprised if he listens to I don't know what Japan's version of NPR is, but if he listens to that, I would be shocked.
He's a big Mark Maron fan. He's grappling with the end of Mark Maron. All things come to an end. But there are always new things, because there are always new memories to be made. Hey, who wants to tell me what's making memories for him right now?
Well, I just want to speak up on behalf of another labor rights hero coming from Philadelphia, Bryce Harper, an unlikely hero, because, he does have a lot of money and, could very easily say, hey, look, my contract's probably taking me to the end of my career. Maybe I'll sign a sweetheart deal for one more year after. He doesn't really have a reason to be invested in the upcoming expiration of the CBA between the MLB and the MLBPA. But that wasn't going to stop him. He was going to get face-to-face with Rob Manfred, and he was going to tell him to get the fuck out of the dugout, or out of their clubhouse. And what a perfect, sniveling little dork response for Rob Manfred to have allegedly said back, I'm not going to get the fuck out of the clubhouse. Dude, fuck you. No surprise that Rob Manfred just doesn't take a hint when, he's perhaps being a bit of an ass. But I love it. I love Bryce Harper, labor rights hero.
It's the raw milk. It's out of his brain in just the exact right way, where he's both anti-vax, but also anti-billionaire. It takes a certain person to thread that needle.
The Nick Castellanos shirt about it not coming to blows is raising a lot of questions already answered by the Nick Castellanos shirt that says it didn't actually come to blows. Always a great look for the league when a player is putting out the PR that we did not physically fight one another.
Well, and it's also, granted the Joel Embiid thing wasn't a labor rights thing, but it was a, sticking up for himself thing. And, we've said it a lot of times about two nickels. And boy, do I have two nickels in my pocket for the amount of times the star and face of one of my franchises shoved some dork in their locker room. I love it. I want to hear about, let's get who'd be the most likely Eagle to push somebody. I think AJ Brown. AJ Brown probably feels like the one.
I think AJ Brown wants to be seen as like a sensitive jock type with the reading. I don't think AJ Brown wants to give into that kind of bully in a varsity jacket stereotype. You know what I'm saying?
That's fair. I could see.
Who's the guy who fucked the other guy's wife? And the dude put out the whole statement about how you ruined my marriage by fucking my wife.
Oh, that was Fletcher Cox.
Fletcher
which is
Cox.
An incredible name for a person to have cucked somebody. He sure did Fletcher Cox. You know what I mean?
I am kind of hung up now on this. Which Eagle would get into a fight with Roger Goodell about labor negotiations?
So Lane Johnson is old enough and has been around the block enough that I think
Lane Johnson feels good. You said it and it just felt right.
I was gonna say either him or I'll flip to the other side and Jordan Mailata just laughing and saying, "What are you gonna do about it, mate?" I could totally see that.
Jordan Mailata seems more like the guy that silently flanks the person that tells you to leave.
No, that's totally fair. Yeah, Mailata would be if Mailata were a bouncer, he would be the one who's cracking jokes with the blackout drunk. Be like, "Yeah, listen, mate, I get it, but you gotta go."
I want so many more excuses for this Jordan Mailata voice to come out of you, Diaz. Xavier, what is it regarding Philadelphia labor negotiations that's making memories for you? Or are you thinking about something other than that? I don't know why you would be.
I'm thinking about something other than that. Right now, I don't know, something in my brain, I can't stop thinking about the fact that the Orioles beat the Blue Jays and then traded a reliever to the Blue Jays in the middle of a doubleheader. So Seranthony Dominguez will play twice in the same field on the same day, but for the opposite teams. And that makes me very happy. It's a stupid baseball thing that you don't get anywhere else, and I enjoy that.
Obscure Orioles knowledge here. If I had a nickel for every time the Orioles, the trade deadline during my lifetime, traded someone who was currently playing them in Baltimore, I would now have two, because LJ Hose was traded to the Houston Astros, who were being hosted by the Baltimore Orioles at one point. So we got two nickels for that now. I'll talk about the Orioles in a second.
The other two, pretty small. One, the Arsenal women did win the Euros, as we had talked about. In the final, Mariana Caldente scores the opener for Spain. Then Alessia Russo, off a Chloe Kelly feed, scores the equalizer. Goes to penalties. Chloe Kelly does score the winning penalty, which is great because she also scored the winner in the Euro final last time. But it means that all important things were done by Arsenal women, killing it yet again. Someone else who's killing it is Katie Ledecky, because the U.S. swimming team has been overcome with horrible diarrhea, which is not a thing that you want ever, but especially not if you are competing at the Swimming World Championships. And there were already multiple events where they had to pull out because they had horrible, horrible diarrhea. But in the 1500, Katie Ledecky once again wins, fifth best time in history. This is 15 years of the 1500 where she has never lost. Never lost once in that distance in 15 years, including 6 world title golds and 2 for 2 at the Olympics. Imagine being so good at something that no one has beaten you in it in 15 years. And it's a thing you do multiple times a year, not just we do it once every 4 years like the Olympics. She's done the world record 6 times. And it's just, no one else is in the screen when she does this. It's incredible how she just keeps doing this. I want Katie Ledecky to be 50 and still be doing the 1500 better than anyone else.
I mean, typical Baltimore aquatic excellence. What can I say? The thing that for whatever reason this city owns. We're just real good at swimming, even though both times they tried to do the public swimming event in the harbor this year, It got too toxic because of rain. Speaking of world records, I feel like I should just real quick follow up on the Tour de France. Jonas Vingegaard, he had that record in 2022, around 42 kilometers an hour. He has surpassed that record. He has had a faster Tour de France than his previous 2022 world record one. That is unfortunately 0.05 behind Tadej Pogacar, who did just set the Tour de France speed record, and as did Jonas Vingegaard, by over a kilometer an hour this season. Fourth yellow, third King of the Mountain polka dot jersey, because he almost won the green jersey. Like, he was real close to it, and then just, I will admit, played kind of conservative the last week, and I said, the thing that's making it okay that he keeps winning everything is because he's constantly making it exciting and aggressive. And he played hard for stage 21. He did try really hard to win final stage in Paris. Just putting you on watch there, Pocky. Incredible. I love the Tour de France this year. But, Xavier, you mentioned the Orioles a second ago. I would like to talk about the Orioles for 1 second, because we have, in the last 2 weeks, taken our baby to 2 total baseball games. One in Wilmington, and then we finally, this last weekend, 2 weekends before you all hear this, went to their first Orioles game. It was against the Colorado Rockies prior to this Blue Jays series that Xavier's alluded to. And it's around the trade deadline. It's a weird time being an Orioles fan because, hey, players might go in the middle of a day. We've been ready for this. We've been here before. We've been here with Trey Mancini. We've been here with Manny Machado. We were not here with Adam Jones. I feel like that's important to point out, like looking back on Orioles history for a moment. Adam Jones had a no-trade clause, and he denied a trade at the trade deadline because he wanted to finish as close to on his terms as possible in Baltimore. And in fact, because of that, the very first game my wife ever attended with me at Camden Yards was the last home game featuring Adam Jones, in which he was pulled in the 8th inning to a standing ovation. It's a very emotional moment for me at a baseball game in front of this woman that I was still like only kind of knowing for a little bit. Quick test, hey, are you okay with this? And yes, turns out she was. Anyway, he was pulled because he was being supplanted by an upcoming prospect, Cedric Mullins, who then kind of like shot the bed for 2 years, but came around to very much occupy a similar role to Mr. Jones. He's a great defensive center fielder, secretly kind of an average hitter, but has a great flair for the dramatic. He's a good base runner, so lots of stolen bases, and also, that 1 year, enough power to get 30 home runs for a 30-30 season. He was an all-star, and he'd continue to stick around. He's just like super importantly, and this last point I want to preface once again, I am a very white person, but super importantly, he has been the black player on a team in a very black city this whole time, much as Adam Jones often was. And that is a big deal. Now the O's kind of suck, and despite how badly all the fans really would have kind of liked for him to get extended, if we could get any one extension, be him or Gunnar Henderson. But Michael S. refuses to extend anyone, so there we go. We know where we're at here. He's a good player. He is in the final year of his contract. He's probably desired by other teams. And when we went to the game this past weekend, you could feel in like every little interaction with Cedric Mullins, when his name was called, when he came up to bat, we know what's possible. And this episode will come out after the trade deadline. Maybe Cedric Mullins is still on the team. Maybe he's on the team for many years to come. Would love for that to be the case. Also realistic that it may not be the case. But on this night, my child's very first Orioles game, Cedric Mullins, first time I played, strikes out pretty badly. It's a little embarrassing. But I'm like, hey, look, you got to see Cedric Mullins as an Oriole. I'm glad you'll have gotten that. And then, the top of the very next inning, incredible defensive catch. Just a great leap, fully midair for 2 seconds. Loved it. And at the bottom of the second, we got ready to leave. Because I should clarify, in these 2 games with our baby, we have stayed for approximately 5 total innings of baseball in the stadium. And we're going into that with that being the plan. Like, this is fully, hey, you know what? We're getting some baseball experience. We're starting out. But on the way out, just as we're exiting, Cedric Mullins up to bat, 2 people on base, an Earl Weaver special, 6-0 as we walk out the stadium, and that made him just the 3rd player in Orioles history to be a 100 career player, 100 home runs, 100 stolen bases. Adam Jones never did that. Nick Markakis never did that. Brian Roberts never did that. Melvin Mora never did that. Only Paul Blair, who's an all-time great, and Brady Anderson. Some of those home runs, hey man, let's check the tape on that. Cedric Mullins like an all-time Oriole great, and it just nice to have at least one game where we could share that with the kid. Also, their first game ended up being the single biggest blowout in Orioles history. They won 18-0. Fuck it. We left it was 6-0. You're like, oh great, what a delightful, easy game. And then I got home and they'd scored 7 more runs.
Pretty good.
It's pretty good. I will say, though, pretty difficult to keep score of some kind of game blowing up, people turning the lineups over, you got position players coming into pitch. It's a wild thing. You know what would help us is some custom-made scorecards that would allow us to navigate the twists and turns of a game like that. Luckily for you folks, we have got someone coming up in just a second who could do just that, creator and designer of Diamond Scorecards. New friend of the show, Liz Thompson. Let's go ahead and throw to that segment right now. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else, our guest today wears a couple different hats. She is a writer, a photographer, but for the purposes of this podcast, she is the owner and designer for Diamond Scorecard Designs. Liz Thompson, welcome to Remember That Guy. How are we doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. Thanks for having me.
Happy to have you on. Now, first question, and I want to say this with the preface, I am someone who tries to score a game like a couple times a year to make sure I'm flexing the muscles, but I do have to wonder, how does someone from our generation get so into baseball scorecards as to decide that there is a necessary position in the market to design one's own custom baseball scorecards and release them online?
I mean, so I've been scoring since I was little. I'm the youngest of four, and my mom scored all of my older siblings' softball and baseball games. So I learned pretty young. I was the official scorer for varsity softball in my high school. So I've been doing it for a while, and I hadn't done it at MLB games for a while. And when I was going to start up again, I had one book, but I was like, this book is not great for what I want, because it had like 12 batting slots and a bunch of tallies and space that I didn't need. So it actually was originally just, I wanted what I wanted and I knew how to make it. And then it led to other people wanting it. And so it just kind of spiraled from there.
So you're starting out not exclusively at the pro level. You're also doing some of this like amateur scoring. Do you remember your first game? Do you remember what level it was? Do you have your first scorecard anywhere?
I don't for my first like professional game. I grew up, my elementary school would go to Frederick Keyes games a lot.
Hell yeah.
I know my first professional game was at the Keys, but surprisingly, my dad found it a couple months ago. My first major league game, my mom bought a scorecard and kept score. And it was my first game at Oriole Park. And my dad found it a couple months ago. And I was like, wait a second, no, that's my first game there. And so it was kind of cool to find. But other than that, no, I can't really think of them because I've been to so many now.
Before we move on, I just want to say my quick Frederick Keyes connection. I have sung the national anthem there with the old church choir when I was a very small child. That is the only time I think I have gotten to be on a professional baseball field, not during a Paul McCartney concert. That's the only other time I've been on a professional baseball field.
Honestly, you just kind of unlocked a memory, because one of our trips to the Keys was with the choir. And so I'm pretty sure I also sang the anthem at the Keys game.
They seem to have a type for their anthem singers. I did not get to be part of the church choir when they did the Camden Yards ones.
This was my elementary school choir, so...
Now, we're talking about like the physicality of the cards. We're talking about being able to go back and unearth one and have an unearthed memory. You are also offering electronic cards. And I am curious about, like, did you immediately, when you started kind of ramping this up, know you wanted to do both formats? Because to me, like, it's a very physical thing. I've given people scorecards as gifts. Like I gave a friend Hunter Harvey's first professional game when I happened to be in Boston for it. You know, I just had a thing, could hand it off. And you do lose a little bit of that tactile nature. Was that always the plan when starting this up, or did that kind of just come about later on?
It kind of came naturally. I had always intended, when I was changing things, to offer a digital download so that people that don't necessarily want a book can print it out. But then I was doing something on my iPad and I kind of clicked and I went, hey, you can mark up PDFs now. So it was kind of like this switch to, hey, you can also do this. And I would say it's a little different. I've like seen some of the apps, and I just read an article where a tech guy was like, the apps are no good, but the apps were so digital. Like you type or you check a box. And one thing I liked about what I had is it was a PDF, so you were still likely going to use a pencil, just as the Apple Pencil, and so it has the same mechanics, but it's just, paper friendly.
You're still not having, like, you're not selecting from a drop-down menu in each little box or field or anything like that. It is, as you're saying, a markup, so there is still that. I mean, is the thought that people would then go print it out? Where do you stand? Do you think that someone should then just keep a digital archive of cards? Or do you think that ultimately there is something to be said for, like, the paper will, to some extent, outlast hard drives if things are not taken care of properly?
Honestly, to me, it's whatever the scorer wants. In some of my research for Saber, I've been seeing stories about official scorers or journalists that threw their card out after every game. And it was a story in one of the books about a broadcaster who after every game just tossed the scorecard because they didn't need it anymore. And so it really is up to the person. I am personally the kind that will keep any and everything if possible. So I'm in there, but I know there are professionals that don't even keep theirs.
We have on this show a lot of different times talked about how sport, and particularly the fandom exercise that we engage in, the remembering of guys, the remembering of seasons and games, that kind of group recollection. It is one of the last great bastions of oral history, I think, in modern day human society. The scorecards, to me, there's a very interesting kind of middle ground that they take between this oral history where we strive for accuracy on this show, but part of the nature of those memories is you're going to look back and you might get some things wrong. I think we're all very open anytime that we're telling a personal story here on the show. It was this guy or that guy or someone else at bat. Any number of possibilities. These half-remembered truths and these half-true memories. A scorecard is a written record. What you put down on there, presumably, if you're doing it right, it happened. But at the same time, you can write a 6-4-3 double play. And you can document that a 6-4-3 double play happened. And anyone who can read this knows, okay, shortstop, second, first, cool. At the same time, you can see one 6-4-3 double play and see another one the next inning that is vastly different in terms of the shape, the flow, how things go, how fielders were positioned initially. So there is this element where it is a concrete record, but it is also fungible and requires a little bit more interpretation. What do you think about kind of that place that scorecards exist in? And do you think your particular approach to it leans one way or the other, strict documentation or trying to kind of more artfully present the flow of what happened?
I would say for my personal style, I'm trying to get as much information I can on there that at least I want to be able to recall. Surprisingly, I decided through my research I was going to track first pitch, whether it was ball or strike, and then count and track 2-0 count or 0-2 counts. And the very first game I did it, the Orioles threw an immaculate inning. Brandon Young threw his immaculate inning, and I looked down, and it was 1-2, 1-2, 1-2 on each of the strike boxes. And it was insane that was the very first game I decided to try and do that. And, so sometimes you can get all that information right there. But I would say in terms of my business, I want people to score for themselves. And so if they only want to know what the person did, they can do that. I know people that don't track runners on the bases. And the original scorecard literally just tallied things. It didn't track it at all up until, I want to say, the 1860s is when they really took on the tracking by inning aspect of it. So I would say
you're telling me that there's an extensive baseball scorecard history prior to the 1860s, and I would not have even guessed that was the case.
I would say it's mostly like box scores scoring, because until Henry Chadwick, the father of baseball, introduced his scorecard that did it by inning, it wasn't generally tracked in what order things happened. It was just this guy got 4 at bats and 3 hits and something like that. So yeah.
We'll talk guys a little bit more deep later on, but with the mention of Henry Chadwick there, I'm like, that is a great scorecard guy. It's a great sobriquet, the father of that. Are there any other like scorecard specific guys before we get into our larger nominations later that immediately come to mind for you?
Through my research, it really comes down to Chadwick and then Spalding in terms of like the original scorecards. I mean, Chadwick ended up working for Spalding's company because I think he died, I don't know, it was the 1800s. But, so those were the two guys, and they talk about a guy named MJ Kelly. Wish I could remember what team he worked for. Even he was an official scorer, and like he had one of the most robust things. And I'm inferring from another source, though, that was older, that MJ Kelly was also a player. The one book refers to a guy as Michael J. Kelly, and he was a shortstop, if I remember correctly, and that book was from 1888. So this guy that had a very well touted, I read it in like 4 of my books, MJ Kelly would be the guy.
That is interesting that this person involved in the history of scorecards cannot be confirmed as to whether or not he was a player at the same time. Like someone behind documentation, and there's still this kind of question about it.
I could eventually connect it, but it was this thing where all of a sudden a guy named Michael J. Kelly is being talked about. And I'm like, well, is that MJ Kelly?
There's Michael Jordan Kelly, and then there's Michael B. Jordan Kelly, and it's just a long rabbit hole down from there.
It's weird. For as much as I love baseball and how intently I watch every single Yankees game, I have never done a scorecard in my life. I don't know why, but I have never done it.
It's a generational thing, really. One of the things that Sabre just sent out the survey for the official scoring committee, research committee that I'm on, because it was something I proposed and I've talked about it on Blue Sky, is the availability of scorecards now at the ballparks is varied and almost hidden in a lot of these places. When it used to be right as you walk through the gate, there's a lot of people not knowing they can keep score at the game. And I would say part of what my goal has been is to get more people to score in a way that works for them, so that, the way that I've looked at it is, a lot of the people agree in the history, the best way to know the game of baseball and the best way to love the game of baseball is to know how to keep score and keeping score.
I might have to try it.
Honestly, you just answered the question I was going to have, which is with, this being an era of baseball in which there are so many statistics available, why is it still important to keep score? For me, I can go online after and I can look it up. So knowing that, why is it important on an individual level to still keep score?
So one of the books that I've been reading came out in 2019, and it's called Scouting and Scoring. And it really kind of reminded me that scoring used to be the analytics, basically. Like, the data set that you got was not StatCast, it was the scorebook. And so it's intrinsically linked, and I would say a little off topic is the numbers are taking over, whereas it used to be that baseball made those numbers, and it was just to tell the story. And so that, I honestly, it made me love scoring even more when I remembered scoring is how we get those numbers.
Real quickly touch on one last thing that you kind of already brought up there in chatting with Xavier. You've also got some experience with ASL. We here on the show have talked about one-court devices before, the devices that are being handed out among other places at Portland Trailblazers games so that people with visual disabilities can more easily follow the game. I mean, maybe I'm putting my foot in my mouth. I do imagine there would be some difficulties as a visually impaired person in scoring for a number of reasons. With that being said, you seem to have some kind of thought towards accessibility. Has that played into this project in any way?
100%. So I work part-time in disability services at UMBC. And then my sister is an eye doctor who specializes in low vision. So I had this background already. So when I started to expand and try different scorecards, I've been in the making of a low vision scorecard. So in terms of legally blind, a lot of legally blind people can still see. It's a complete spectrum of vision. And so I'm not going to be able to help every single one of them, but what I'm hoping is that with larger text on a bigger piece of paper, I can try and get those people who can maybe see what's happening on the field, but they can't see what's on a scorecard. Just give them a little boost and see if they can keep score that way. But I'm a little ways off on getting that out just because of production stuff, but that's totally in the works.
Well, everything that expands the game, I think we are well established as being consistent, if not constant fans of. But the game isn't the only thing that we want to expand today. We are potentially going to expand the wings of the Hall of Guy today with a nominee that you have. Nominees, I'm not entirely sure. You gave a little bit of a short list ahead, so I am curious to see, Liz, who it is that you have brought for consideration here before the Guy-bunal. Who is it that we must weigh in on as to whether or not they belong in the Hall of Guy?
I did have a few, but I've landed on Carlos Zambrano.
Big Z, Carlos Zambrano, a member of one of the best fantasy pitching staffs I had during All-Star Ubaldo Jimenez and Matt Latos and Giovanni Gallardo, completely powered by National League pitchers.
You said Gallardo, and I could tell you're from Baltimore.
Gallardo?
Yeah. I mean, Big Z. I mean, I grew up a Cubs fan as well. On WGN, I got to watch a lot of games because of that. And one game I do remember watching was his no-hitter. Of course, it was played in Milwaukee against the Astros because of a hurricane. But, and so Astros fans always said there's an asterisk there because it was more like a home game.
Are Houston Astros fans talking about asterisks now? That's incredibly.
Well, this was back when it happened. They were complaining. It was like, it doesn't count. They were less than 3 hours away from their home ballpark.
Is this, and this is still, this would have been NL Central Astros in that case, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's wild that we just let one division have 6 teams for a long time.
Well, because there was no interleague play, but what's even funnier is the Brewers were American League up until, I want to say,
That's right.
70s or 80s.
I can't remember if it's with one of the expansions, or it might not be until 94 wildcard play when it gets split into multiple divisions. Because I think all three, I mean, they are like rivals with the O's for much of the 80s.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for me, and what I loved about Carlos Zambrano, is it's like, we kind of had, when Bartolo Colon would hit, it was a funny little joke. And, we loved him for that. We loved Carlos Zambrano because he was a legitimate threat at the plate every single time he came up. Him and Cliff Lee, I think, are probably the two people I think of as pitchers that could hit. Other than, of course, Shohei Ohtani, who is insane. But that's the first thing that comes to mind for me with Zambrano. Is that your experience as a Cubs fan? Is that your memory? 100%. Or he was a great pitcher as well?
100% the hitting. I remember he would hit bombs. And I swear, every one of his home runs were no doubters. But
because wait, 24 career home runs. No fucking way.
Yeah. And honestly, he's what makes me miss the pitchers hitting. Because it is possible. I mean, honestly, there's a whole swath of issues at development stages that lead to why pitchers should not be hitting. But, it was always nice, and you had this guy who could step into the plate after striking you all out and then frickin' pop one out of the park.
Xavier, have you gotten on his baseball reference page yet?
I have not. I instead went to his Chicago Dogs time with the American Association of Independent Professional Baseball, because there's nothing I love more than a guy who's late 30s, early 40s that just still wants to play, and they'll play anywhere. Like, I was reading about Chris Carter on The Athletic the other day, and about how he's at 500 home runs in professional baseball, with only like 130 of those being in MLB, the rest being just playing in the Mexican League for 8 years. So I love people that just play for the love of the game long after, their top level ability is gone.
I mean, one guy's tracking Robinson Cano's
Yes.
almost 3,000 hits combined down in Mexico. I saw Alejandro De Aza play in an independent league game about a couple months ago. It was like, I saw the name when I was writing down the roster, and I went, I know that guy.
You remember that guy? I think I was 5 feet away from an Alejandro De Aza. Okay, here we go. Here's a vague memory that may or may not be correct. I know for a fact I was at one point in Orioles, Texas Rangers, single admission doubleheader one day. It was in high school, and I know
Not
the Orioles
30-3 doubleheader. Was
No,
it?
no, God, not that one. No, this was one in which Colby Lewis was pitching for the Texas Rangers, and he gives up back-to-back-to-back home runs to open the game. And I know one of those hitters was Ryan Flaherty, and I know one of those hitters was Nick Markakis. And I'm pretty sure that it was either Alejandro De Aza or Wilson Bettamy as the third. Whomever was the third, I was about 5 feet away from getting a home run.
What year? Can you remember?
God, would have been probably 2010, 2009 or 2010, definitely.
And it's probably Bettamy.
Okay,
Because
there we go. Wilson Bettamy.
I don't think Diaza was there until 2011, 2012.
He's definitely part of a winning Orioles team, and it was definitely not one of the years where they did that.
Bettamy wasn't, because he got hurt and just never made it back.
Yeah. Xavier, anyway, the reason I asked if you'd gotten on Zambrano's baseball reference page, quick game of 69 or 420 for you. Carlos Zambrano's career batting average.
I mean, even if he's good at hitting as a pitcher, it's still going to be 69.
Okay, but it's so close. It is 238, which is slightly closer, but it's so close to being 420.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a 636 OPS for his career, which, if he was a great outfielder or a great outfielder could get away with the 636 OPS and still be a career starter.
I mean, the Yankees are looking into trading for a actual infielder who hits worse than that right now, and Brian Hayes. So, if Zambrano wants to, come out of retirement and play third base, we got a spot in the lineup for his bat.
I mean, if Rich Hill can come back or keep playing.
Love Rich Hill. Rich Hill is the most high player of all time, and I'm just waiting for him to retire so we can finally honor him.
Not yet. He's playing tomorrow.
I'm doing an incredibly quick stat head search. I am curious how many batters this season with a certain threshold of plate appearances are currently doing worse than a 636 OPS. I want to know how many people Carlos Zambrano could put out of a job right now.
At least 100. There's so many bad hitters in the MLB this year.
But out of qualified hitters.
Okay,
We'll say 50 plate appearances.
Okay,
50 plate appearances.
I was even going to say 100, but 50. I think it's definitely 100. 100 people that are worse than that, because there are a lot of bad hitters this year.
I mean, he had 2 career seasons with an OPS plus over 100, which OPS plus is about where I tap out with analytics. I can understand that. 100 is average. He had 2 seasons where he had an above average OPS, which is incredible.
So
Diaz, all hitters, not just pitchers hitting.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, if it was corrected for pitchers, I'm just I don't know exactly how it's calculated, but I would put it at 2,000.
Diaz, would you like to know the number one player on this list from StatHead the highest OPS that does not clear the career OPS of 636 in Major League Baseball this year?
The owner of it?
Yeah, who is it?
If you're asking me, it's got to be a Philly. Is it Rojas?
It is Bryson Stott. Bryson Stott is number one. There are 153 players with at least 50 plate appearances and an OPS south of 636. And there are some people on this list, including Brian Hayes, including Dylan Cruz, Ozzy Albies, Andres Jimenez, Royce Lewis. We got Kike Hernandez on here. We got Ryan Mountcastle, Luis Robert, Oswaldo Cabrera for Yankees. We all have players on this that we love. Joey Bart. Like, there's a good number of people that are known players on this list. Bo Naylor behind that. That was the other position I immediately thought of. It's like, you could definitely, as a catcher, if you're a good enough catcher, get away with that. But yeah, I mean, Carlos Zambrano, coming off the bench as a pinch hitter, better option than a lot of these guys.
Oh, for sure. I'm trying to remember what year. I'm not going to be able to, but it was a game where they like needed a pinch hitter, and Max Scherzer, it was the Nats, and Max Scherzer grabbed a bat because he wasn't a terrible hitter. He didn't hit bombs the way Zambrano did, but like he was like, I'll hit, and it wasn't even his day. So, but he was in full uniform. So,
God, love Max Scherzer.
oh yeah.
And this is something we've lost with the DH. Like, for the casual viewer, yes, it is better to have 9 competent batters in a batting order versus 8.5, But I feel like if you're like a true baseball sicko, what you love is the oddities of it. When these like weird things just happen. And when we used to have the pitcher as part of the batting order, sometimes it gets into the 18th inning. We still see position players pitch sometimes, but I remember one time the Phillies, like Ryan Howard got ejected, so Raul Ibanez went from left field to first, and Roy Oswalt had to play left field for an inning. These kind of things just don't happen anymore.
The double switch.
The double, like,
mostly Joe
isn't it like an
Madden.
octuple switch officially?
I don't know, but I remember Joe Madden every once in a while, especially before the 3 batter minimum, he'd come out, bring a guy in for the lefty, but he didn't want that guy to face like the next batter, so he throws the guy out in left field and then brings in a different pitcher, and then when that guy does his job, he brings the pitcher that he threw out in left field back into pitch.
Joe Madden used
Genius.
to be awesome with that.
Oh yeah, I will say the Orioles actually had a game. I think he would remember it. Orioles Yankees, where our catcher gets injured in like the 2nd or 3rd inning, and so we lose the DH because the other catcher was DHing, and so our pitcher, it was Trevor Rogers, took 3 at bats. Apparently, he had his own helmet, but he used Ryan Mountcastle's bat. But then in extras, the Yankees were out of bench players, and Mark Leiter Jr. took an at bat.
He's not good at pitching. I can't imagine. Like, him hitting is even worse.
You would think a Nepo baby would be a little better.
I also want the octuple switch. I was thinking of the time in 2017 where the Mets had Travis d'Arnaud, and they had to like shift him out of catcher, so he was at either second or third base, and they kept switching him and Asdrubal Cabrera every batter based on whether the batter was right-handed or left-handed, because they didn't want d'Arnaud to have to like field any screamers or anything. And so for like 2 innings, if you go to the scorecard, you would have a very interesting story to tell, because it just kept.
That was before they banned the shift, though.
Oh yeah, no, they were shifting mightily on this. Like, it was also because they were basically taking d'Arnaud out of the
like when they
shifted
would throw
batter.
Manny Machado out in right field to be like the 4th outfielder. He was still considered the 3rd baseman.
I also remember at least one instance of, just going back to like very specific Orioles memories, Jeremy Guthrie was definitely used as a pinch runner more than once in my lifetime. Not exactly hitting, but like seeing the pitcher get called up from the dugout just to like take first base and go out and be in the field was always a trip. And I agree, Diaz, like it is probably better you don't get, we'll say charitably, like if a pitcher's spot in the lineup comes up 4 times, you're getting 3 free out. Maybe one time you have to work the out a little bit, but you're getting 3 free outs a night unless it's Carlos Zambrano. And it's probably better that we don't have that. But there is definitely like a magic that is lost in just like the fewer tactics. It's not worse, it's not better tactics. There just aren't as many.
Right. Or like the, hey, we're down 1-0, my pitcher's dealing. The 8 guy just hit a leadoff double. Do I pull him because this might be our only chance at a run? Like there used to be so much more to weighing those kind of decisions, and now it's kind of just like, guy go up, try hit ball far. Love you, Kyle Schwarber. But
and I just read the biography of Earl Weaver, the last real manager, and it kind of goes into that where it's like the manager doesn't do what it used to. The manager's kind of just a mouth now. He stands in the dugout and he puts out the team and occasionally makes bullpen decisions. But he doesn't have to shuffle his lineup.
and putting out the lineups, like, that's so often. I mean, I know this was a point of discussion last year in the playoff runs with the Yankees, because there was some discontent from what I could tell. Xavier, feel free to correct me, but there seemed like there was some discontent with the lineups, and it was often directed at Aaron Boone, and he was coming out and saying, like, rather, he was not saying, sorry, he was being a good company man. A lot of people I listen to talk about baseball are saying, look, man, we know that Aaron Boone gets to make like one lineup decision a week, and other than that, the front office is setting those lineups for the most part, because they're the ones who are, Liz, like you were saying, like the numbers are now dictating what baseball happens versus the other way around. And the front office saying the numbers give us this lineup. So Aaron Boone, you're running that out, and then you can deal
Mike
with
Elias has been doing that, and it's been pretty obvious at times that I'm like, why would the manager, whether it was Hyde or now Mansolino, you're looking at the lineup going, why? Especially Mansolino, because he's second gen. You know, it's not like he's new to this.
A lot of it's about, just the standard hierarchy now. Because if you think about it, like there used to be a lot of pairings. Like a GM and a manager would be paired together. And if a team failed, you probably fire both, clean house. Brian Cashman's been in charge of the Yankees for 30 years. Like he's been there since I was born. And he's beloved by the Steinbrenner family. He will only ever leave if like he wants to of his own accord, because he'll get hired. Like as much as Yankees fans trash him, someone else would hire him immediately. And so he gets to choose. He gets to pick who he wants to manage the team. And he's going to pick someone who's aligned with his beliefs, which is, very analytics heavy and very much like we can get anybody and turn them into a power pitcher out of the bullpen. We'll spend a 20th round pick on some guy from Mississippi State and make him a functional bullpen arm. And if you don't want to just listen to what I say, we're not going to hire you because we're the Yankees. We could get whatever coach we want if we feel like it. So, I mean, that's just kind of how a lot of this is now.
I wish I could remember the questions. I did a Yankee questionnaire before for a job interview, and it was literally like, which player would you pick?
That'd be fun. That's a good, explain why you would make this decision interview question rather than, if you were a tree, what tree would you be and why?
Well, in Boone's case particular, so much of manager is now just like being the sin eater. You just have to be out there and be the one that everybody hates. You're a hate sponge, and Aaron Boone is a really good hate sponge. But to get back to Carlos Zambrano for a second, the guy that we are considering here, my question often when people bring guys, particularly from their own fandoms, you are saying that this is someone that you connected with as a Cubs fan. So why Zambrano over anyone else from that period? What is it about Carlos Zambrano when you look back on that time as a Cubs fan? It's like, he is the name that I remember. He is the one that stands out, and he's who I am bringing to be an avatar of that era here in this conversation.
I mean, I will say Sammy Sosa was my favorite player as a kid. So I do also associate him. And then the only other one I can always remember is Aramis Ramirez. But I think he may have already been on your list, but I wasn't sure.
We may have discussed him. He's definitely not inducted. We don't have Aramis Ramirez in the hall, but we may have talked about him.
Yeah, and so, but Big Z, I just remember so many games that kind of made me love it. And again, he's the reason why I miss pitchers hitting. Yeah, I agree. DH did well for the mass public, but for me, whenever I think of having the DH now, I think of Carlos Zambrano because I grew up watching him always be a threat at the plate.
Real quickly, just because his name came up, Sammy Sosa was the first athlete whose signature shoe I got. I remember I was 8 years old, and I was like, Dad, they got the Sammy Sosa cleats. We got to get the Sammy Sosa cleats. And
I have an Orioles poster that I bought at the Scholastic
Oh, wow,
Fair.
yeah.
I mean, Sammy Sosa is one of the all-time hipster Orioles shirts.
I forget exactly the three numbers. It was when he had the 360 home run seasons. It had each of those numbers on not the sole, the side where before the sole meets the rest of the shoe, but it's still on the side. I don't know what part that's called, but it was on there.
Well, we need Russ Bankston to give us like a diagram of shoe anatomy.
Right. Yeah, that would be helpful. But yeah, it's like in Zambrano, because like that was the same era. Correct me if I'm wrong. When it was Mark Pryor, it was Kerry Wood. Like
he was on the back end of those. Okay. I want to say, because Mark Pryor, I mean, he just couldn't stay healthy, and I think they were around at the same time, but like he wasn't playing nearly as much in those later years because he just could not stay healthy. So I want to say, yeah, Kerry Wood. Oh my God, that's another game that I remember watching, is his 20K game on WGN. I want to say maybe he is around the same one, but, you know, he's a Hall of Fame pitcher, so.
Right.
He should be.
So Carlos Zambrano, 43.9 career WAR is a lot higher than I expected to see. He has one season with 6.6. That's his peak. That is his very first All-Star appearance in 2004. He's got 2 other All-Star appearances. He's got the no-hitter, which is not... He definitely fits a little bit more in like the Edwin Jackson school of no-hitters, where it is more, oh, cool, that guy has one, instead of like, oh, good, this pitcher got that career accomplishment that we all needed. And it's not as ugly as... But yeah, Ubaldo, God, what is the... I mean, Edwin Jackson is like the ugliest no-hitter of all time. And then Braden is the perfect game equivalent of this. No shade on him, but like...
I think Domingo Herman is actually that. I think Domingo Herman took it from Dallas Braden because he was out of the league within a year.
Because immediately he got kicked off the team like less than a couple months later.
He was gone. He was gone immediately afterwards. So that, like, at least Braden like is still... I think he's still commentating and doing stuff with baseball.
Yeah, he works for the Athletics.
What's the word? The Bohemian Athletics.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Like it's just so weird to me that they're gonna play in Sacramento for 3 years, but we're not gonna acknowledge it. Like they're just kind of just chilling over there. Like how do you?
They're gonna be there longer than 3 years. They haven't started building the stadium yet. They keep saying they've broken ground. They hired fake like equipment to be in the background of their groundbreaking photo shoot, but they haven't actually done anything yet. There's been no building. They just rented the fake stuff.
There's apparently a live stream, and all they're doing is pushing dirt back and forth.
Remember when we lived in 1300, guys, that first year, and it just felt like every single day the building site next to our dorm was them pushing dirt from one side of the lot to the other side?
And then, like, 2 weeks later, it was like, oh, wait, Morgan Hall's, like, up.
It's done. Yeah, it went from, like, being a pile of dirt to a skyscraper in 2 weeks flat.
Somehow I don't think John Fisher is going to have as efficient of a build.
He's trying to sell the Earthquakes now to essentially finance it because he's run out of money.
Well, the Earthquake fans want him to sell, too. They had a sell chant going last year as well.
It's really hard to be the most despised owner in sports because there's a lot of competition for it at all times. It is... There's a part of it that is comforting to know, like, okay, it's undisputed right now. Like, there is one most despised owner in sports right now, hands down. We've talked about stats. One stat that gets a little derided, but I do want to just remark, both for Zambrano's case here and just to think about his Cubs tenure, this isn't necessarily the most showered in glory Cubs era. It's not abysmal or anything, but I think it is worth noting that from the time that he becomes pretty much a like everyday regular starter, his third season, 2003, the first time that he posts 5 WAR or more, he only has one losing season by win-loss record. The rest of the way, it is his final season when he goes 7-10 with the Miami Marlins. From like the true beginning of his Cubs career, the first time he eclipses 100 innings in that 2003 season, he has a winning record every single year. The pitcher win is dumb. It doesn't necessarily reflect a lot about him, but on a team not amazing and a pitcher who I was surprised to see statistics love as much as they do, that is, I think, notable that you could go out there and bet most of the time he's going to give you a chance to win the game. A 3.66 ERA feels like the definition of just a quality start guy.
It's so funny
yeah.
hearing you say that when I'm thinking about Paul Skeens' 2.01 ERA in 4 wins and 8 losses because the Pirates suck so bad.
Like, there's one player. We were looking this up in our fantasy chat recently. There is one player from the 1930s for the Philadelphia Athletics who was a starter that was like pitching as well and getting as little assistance in winning as Paul Skeens is. Other than that, if you look at people who have an ERA as him and the win-loss record, everyone else in that range is just reliever. Like, this is an unprecedented amount of production from a starter to result in as many losses as it has.
Because you mentioned the Philadelphia Athletics, I do have a really funny story. I try and get to Phillies games, and one day I went to Reading Terminal Market to get some lunch. Old man sits down with me, we're talking. He says, well, I don't really follow sports, but then he goes, where do the Athletics play now? And I just kind of sat there going,
that's a
okay,
loaded
how do I
question.
start?
Was this old Dante?
No, it was Dante's dad who just forgot.
What I love about that is it's like there's in different cities I feel like there's different levels of I don't really follow sports. And in Philadelphia, I don't really follow sports is oh yeah, the Philadelphia Warriors in basketball, the Athletics. Yeah, whatever happened to the Athletics? I love it.
But it was just like out of nowhere, and I'm sitting there going, where do I start?
How are the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets doing in the NFL this season?
Bring back the Steagles. We need more Steagles fans from
cursed.
the war.
Deeply cursed Pennsylvania lore.
Back to Zambrano, and we're talking about stats. I also want to talk about accolades because just one thing that was interesting to me. He is a 2-time Silver Slugger winner, and I'm curious to the other 3 of you. His 2 are not the most in the history of the National League. Who is the most awarded Silver Slugger for the pitcher position in the history of the National League?
Maddox.
In the National, I'm going to guess Zach Greinke. I feel like Zach Greinke had
Bumgarner.
Bumgarner is a good guess.
Maddox, I know, won at least a couple.
Bumgarner went back-to-back in 14-15. Zambrano got his 2 back-to-back in 08-09. Incredibly, Maddox did not win any, but you might be getting it confused because there was a stretch of 4 years in a row that Braves pitchers won it. One of them was John Smoltz. 3 of them were Tom Glavine, and Tom Glavine also picked up a 4th one earlier in his career. Tom Glavine is a 4-time Silver Slugger winner, and he is the most awarded. But a couple other names on that list of National League pitchers to win the Silver Slugger. Fernando Valenzuela won it twice. We also had Giovanni Gallardo.
It's a great name to say.
We had Daniel Hudson. We had Stephen Strasburg. Greinke did get the 1, or he got 2, excuse me.
Okay, I was like, Greinke's a multi-time Silver Slugger, I'm sure.
And, obviously with the DH being established in 2021 was the last year that it was ever given. Do any of you know the final Silver Slugging pitcher?
Diaz, this is an incredible question. Like, I just want to take a moment to appreciate that's
In
like
the
this is
NL or the AL? Or my brain.
No, you're good. You're good. It would be awesome if based on
Shohei?
incredibly, it's not Shohei.
Okay. He's still with the Angels at this point.
Oh, he is at the Angels.
Can we get a division? I don't want a team. I just want a division.
It is the NL East.
I know.
Is it Scherzer?
Not Scherzer.
I'm going to guess Aaron Nola.
Aaron Nola is a solid guess. He wasn't a terrible hitter as a pitcher, but he did not get it. Final guesses from either of you two?
I got nothing. Scherzer was my best guess.
Yeah, same.
It was Max Fried, who in 55 at-bats, he hit 273 with 322 OBP, 327 slugging. No home runs, but did have 3 doubles for his 15 hits.
Yeah, 649 OPS will beat a lot of major league hitters. We've seen that. I think that we've got a complete resume. I think it was Zambrano now. We've got the 3 All-Star appearances. We've got the 2 Silver Sluggers. We've got the 1 no-hitter. And if we're decreasing 3, 2, 1, we have one last thing I think to touch on before we make our decision here, because he did, after retiring in 2014, later appear on the 2018 Hall of Fame ballot. 3 All-Star appearances, 2 Silver Sluggers, 1 no-hitter, 0 votes on that Hall of Fame ballot, which now that I know, he had 43.9 career WAR, which is, if I'm not mistaken, roughly the amount of people like Jimmy Rollins that this podcast rides and dies for. And this is not to besmirch Rollins. This is saying, we're out here caping for Rollins. And Zambrano just gone without so much as a second thought. And so with that in mind, with him having been so egregiously left off of all of the ballots for that 2018 vote, which was a stacked ballot. Like, I get that you had some tough choices to make there, but still, it seems as though we are in a good position to rectify that and get them in a different hall. I'm feeling pretty strong about Venezuelan legend Carlos Zambrano. Do we have any final questions, thoughts, things we need to think about before deciding whether or not we bring him in?
I could go for hours just on Hall of Fame voting because I researched it in college. But I think part of it always has to do with if they were good to the media. The media is biased towards the guys who were willing to talk to them.
Or, in the case of many Hispanic players, able to talk to them.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, like one of the things that always, when Roberto Clemente's legacy gets talked about, what people overlook a lot is like he was treated incredibly, like Pittsburgh like embraces and loves Clemente now. He dealt with a ton of racism within the community. Like the media would, if he maybe stumbled over his words a little bit. Right. They called him Bobby. They didn't call him Roberto. They called him Bob. They called him Bobby. And, and when he did well, he was Bob and he was Bobby. And when he did poorly, however he would, if he stumbled through a sentence, they would write it exactly word for word. And as opposed to now, I appreciate the modern practices. Hey, let's, make this a little more cohesive. But like basically like they were painting him in that kind of light. And, there were, I think there was one year, I think Stargell won MVP, but Clemente had better stats across the board. And it came down to Stargell, gave interviews and Clemente didn't. But even beyond that, my biggest grievance with all of the Hall of Fame voting, like I always hate the protest vote. Like, oh, well, so-and-so doesn't deserve to be unanimous because this person wasn't unanimous. So I'm going to be the protest vote that doesn't vote for them. We need more protest votes who are like, hey, look, I know this guy's not getting in. He's probably going to fall off the ballot. I'm going to be the protest vote. It bothers me that Carlos Zambrano didn't get one protest vote.
Yeah,
I used to see that all the time where it's usually like a beat writer for whatever team they played their majority of their career for. Just ticks him off. And he's like, this guy's my team's Hall of Fame, like Adam Jones. I was waiting for somebody, just one person to tick off Adam Jones because he was one of those really good guys. And nobody.
I think the one vote getters of the Hall of Fame, honestly, like that might be a category someday. I was saying that like people who got a single Hall of Fame ballot, that is, as we look towards season 14, maybe that's the one that I'll submit as our category. But that is not who submitted here. Carlos Zambrano is submitted here, and I am happy to guarantee he has at least one vote. I am happy to officially cast a vote in favor of Carlos Zambrano's induction.
Diaz?
Yeah, I mean, unless Xavier could be the protest vote in this instance, but he would be overruled 2-1 if he were to go against Carlos, because I'm firmly for him.
Don't worry, I'm not a protest vote. My only thought is if we have one big Z, I may have to bring Zadrunas Ilgauskas at some point so we can have just a big Z wing of the hall. But
I would like that.
I think we're unanimous in our decision making here. So Diaz, I think you can probably do the honors.
Well, look, it's often a misnomer that pitchers can't hit, and that's why they need a designated hitter. But there was one person who not only could sling that thing, he could hit that thing. He could hit it very far to the tune of 25 career home runs. 24. But this is the ephemeral nature of memory. It's 25 now. I'm giving him one more. And we are going to give him one more accolade in addition to those 3 All-Star games, those 2 Silver Sluggers. He is now a one-time inductee into the Hall of Guy. Welcome to the Hall of Guy, Carlos Zambrano.
He has recorded a 25th dinger by coming home into his new home, the Hall.
Well,
Congratulations.
did he have any postseason home runs?
That's a great question. Let's pull that
That
up.
is a phenomenal question.
If his 5-WAR season, his first 5-WAR season was 2003. 2003 was.
He appeared in 3 different playoff runs: 2003, 2007, and 2008. I'm getting to standard batting. Bear with me for one moment.
He does not.
He does not have one. He does have exactly 1 postseason hit. He does have a 2-bagger in 2007, but that is unfortunately his only postseason hit. But he's got a post-playing career accolade because he is a guy officially here in the Hall. So, Liz, congratulations on an excellent advocacy for your friend Carlos Zambrano. If people are looking to get into scoring, if they're looking to perhaps visit any of your other writings about that or any other baseball history amongst your Sabre work, where would you direct people to find more of your stuff?
So the first place would be diamondscorecarddesigns.com. I'm hoping to add a couple pages of more stuff, but for that. And then Blue Sky is where I'm most active on social media. That's at lizziereed.bsky.social. And then for Sabre, I would recommend joining if you are not a member. I am helping to relaunch the official scoring research committee. And so we're going into that, and I'm looking at actually the history of scorecard design right now. But I would say that's probably where most of the stuff is. It's honestly the coolest thing. They have their own social media, so you could have a messaging system, but it's really a place for baseball nerds. So
Love Sabre.
Well,
That's where I got all my information on our Buzz Arlit episode. Just incredible stuff.
oh yeah, the Bio Project has been insane. The Bio Project and the Games Project. They're trying to basically have a story written for every single player and every single game that's been played. So
it is a great place. I spent a lot of time reading there, and it is great to know that we can look there for the history of scorecard design, which hopefully someday include your work as well. So that is somewhere that people can find you. If people want to find us, they can always visit bit.ly/rememberthatguy, all one word, all lowercase. That is where our social links and all of our writing and episodes are and can always be accessed. But we wouldn't have any of those episodes without the help of producer Craig, the coders behind him, and our musical director, Don Ham. Thank you to Don for that lovely theme music. And thank you, folks, for joining us once again for another excellent episode of Remember That Guy, if I do say so myself. I don't have anything else to say, though. Do either of you before we head out here?
Nothing for me.
Good to go.
Well, in that case, until next time, folks, I've been one of your hosts, James.
I've been the very special guest, Xavier.
I am the scorecard queen, Liz.
And I'm Diaz, and as the newest Tyler, the Creator album says, don't tap the guy.